In the early days of Islam, when the message of truth began to spread across Makkah, one woman emerged not as a supporter, but as one of its fiercest enemies. Her name was Jamil, and her hatred for the Prophet Muhammad was unmatched. Not only was she the wife of Abu Lahab, one of the most cursed men in the Qur'an, but she was also a powerful, sharp-tongued figure who used her status, wealth, and influence to try to crush Islam from the shadows. But who was this woman really? Why was she so feared? And why did Allah himself mention her in the Qur'an, making her one of the very few individuals personally condemned by name? This is the story of Jamil, a woman whose arrogance, cruelty, and relentless campaign against Islam led her to an unforgettable place in history and an eternal warning in Surah Al-Masad. In the blazing deserts of Makkah, as the call to Islam echoed for the first time, a storm of resistance was brewing, not only from the powerful men of Quraysh but also from a woman whose hatred ran deeper than words could express. Her name was Jamil, and she wasn't just any woman, she was the wife of Abu Lahab, the Prophet Muhammad's uncle and one of the most notorious enemies of Islam. But what made Jamil stand out wasn't just her marriage to a cursed man, it was her own venomous role in trying to destroy Islam and dishonor the Prophet Muhammad. This is the chilling story of a woman mentioned in the Quran, whose evil actions made her one of the most feared and cursed women in Islamic history. Who was Jamil? Jamil's real name was Arwa bint Harb, and she was the sister of Abu Sufyan, the leader of the Quraysh tribe and a key opponent of Islam before his eventual conversion. She came from a wealthy and powerful lineage, the Banu Umayyah, and carried both influence and arrogance. Her marriage to Abu Lahab, one of the wealthiest men in Makkah, made her status even more formidable. Unlike many other Qurayshi women who stayed out of public political affairs, Jamil was vocal, active, and vicious in her enmity toward the Prophet Muhammad. When her husband led efforts to insult and oppose the Prophet, Jamil stood beside him, not with silence, but with poisonous words, schemes, and direct hostility. Cursed by Allah in the Quran. Perhaps the most shocking fact about Jamil is that she is directly referenced in the Quran, by Allah himself. Perish the hands of Abu Lahab, and perish he. His wealth and gains shall not benefit him. He will burn in a flaming fire. And his wife, the carrier of firewood. Around her neck is a rope of palm fiber. Surah Al-Masad 111:15. This short yet powerful chapter condemns Abu Lahab and his wife to the hellfire, where she is described as a carrier of firewood, a phrase that carried both literal and metaphorical meaning. What does carrier of firewood mean? Scholars have interpreted this term in a few terrifying ways. Literally, Jamil would carry thorny branches and lay them across the path of the Prophet Muhammad, especially at night, to injure him. This was her way of silently waging war without being seen. She was determined to physically harm the Messenger of Allah even through cowardly means. Figuratively, the phrase carrier of firewood symbolizes gossip and slander. Jamil was known for spreading lies, mockery, and insults about the Prophet Muhammad among the people of Quraysh. Like someone who fuels a fire, her words inflamed hatred against Islam. In the hereafter, the scholars say she will literally carry wood to stoke the flames of her husband's punishment in hell, a fitting end for someone who helped ignite the fire of hatred against Allah's messenger. And the rope of palm fiber around her neck? It's understood as both a punishment in hell and a symbol of the arrogance and pride she wore like a necklace in this world. Her hatred was personal. Jamil's opposition to Islam wasn't just ideological, it was personal. She took the Prophet's message as a direct insult to her family's power and pride. When she heard that Surah Al-Masad had been revealed condemning her and her husband, she flew into a rage. She went looking for the Prophet Muhammad with a stone in her hand, screaming insults and threatening violence. Yet when she arrived at the Kaaba where the Prophet was sitting with Abu Bakr, she couldn't see the Prophet. Allah had blinded her from seeing him, even though he was sitting right there. She stormed up to Abu Bakr and yelled, "Where is your companion? I have heard that he has mocked me. If I had found him, I would have smashed his mouth with this rock." After she left, the Prophet Muhammad revealed that Allah had protected him from her harm, just as he protects his servants from their enemies when they rely upon him. An arrogance that destroyed her. Jamil's hatred was driven by arrogance. She couldn't accept that a man from the same tribe, her own relative, was calling for worship of one God, calling for humility, and challenging the elite structure of Quraysh society. Her pride in her lineage, wealth, and status became her downfall. She used her tongue as a weapon, mocking the Prophet Muhammad and spreading propaganda. She was among the first to publicly insult the Prophet, calling him Mudhammam, the reviled one, instead of Muhammad, the praised one. But the Prophet Muhammad, full of wisdom and grace, simply said, "They are insulting Mudhammam, and I am Muhammad." He chose to rise above her insults, showing that truth needs no revenge. Allah is the best protector. Her death and fate. There are no detailed historical reports of how Jamil died, but her end is sealed in the Qur'an. Allah has decreed that she will be among the people of hellfire, a fate made public for the entire world to know until the Day of Judgment. Unlike other enemies of Islam who repented, like Abu Sufyan or Hind bin Utbah, Jamil never turned back. She died in her hatred, arrogance, and disbelief. A warning to all generations. Why is Jamil mentioned in the Quran by her actions, while many others, both good and evil, are not named? It's because her role was not just historical. She represents a type of enemy that still exists today. Those who mock Islam with their words. Those who spread lies and gossip to turn people away from truth. Those who use their status and wealth to fight against Allah and His Messenger. Her story is a reminder that no power, beauty, lineage, or wealth can save a person who chooses arrogance and disbelief over truth and humility. The contrast women in Islam. It's also important to reflect on how Jamil's legacy contrasts with that of other noble women in Islam. Bib Khadija, the first believer, the loving supporter of the Prophet. Bibi Asiya, the wife of Pharaoh, but a believer in Allah. Bibi Maryam, the purest woman in the Quran. Bibi Sumaya, the first martyr in Islam, tortured to death for her faith. Jamil was not just the wife of a cursed man, she was a fierce enemy of Islam in her own right, using her sharp tongue, hateful heart, and social power to fight the truth. But no matter how much fire she tried to ignite in this world, the fire she helped light will ultimately consume her in the next. Her story is not just about one woman from the past, it is a timeless warning. Words have power. Pride can destroy. And fighting against the truth, even with whispers or thorns, can lead to eternal consequences. May Allah protect us from the path of Jamil, and guide us to the path of Khadija, Asiya, Maryam, and all the righteous women of faith.